All right, thanks for attending. This is Scott Long with BlueOceanSystems. I wanted our customer base to see the WiSys warehouse management solution, which is really more than just a warehouse management. But I just wanted them to give everybody an overview of the capabilities, and then if desired, you can contact me or contact Aaron or Chase at WiSys to set up some follow-up discussions, conversations, and so forth. So with that said, I'll let Aaron and Chase do your thing.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you setting this up today. It's always great to talk WMS and all the fun things that we could do together. So I appreciate it. Guys, welcome. I appreciate you attending as well, wanting to learn more about WMS and what WMS means. And WiSys is a third-party application. Blue Ocean Systems is able to sell WiSys products to their customer base. But what we're going to talk today is warehouse management. And we'll touch on a few of those extra things that Scott was saying that we do, helping you through your journey in the warehouse. Now, as you can see on my screen, we have our entry, and I'll go through a short PowerPoint, but our entry screen is a flexible and scalable WMS solution. And we're an add-on, again, for SAP, but flexible meaning we have the availability to be able to modify our product and be able to work within your company's processes. We understand that each one of Blue Ocean Systems customers does something different, right? We understand that your unique processes are different than your competition. So the nice thing about WiSys is that we're able to be flexible and be able to modify our product and tailor our product. And I'll show that through this process as well. Scalable as well, meaning that we work with small companies. We work with extremely large companies. We have customers, 2 or 3 users of our product, all the way up to 200 to 300 users. So one singular product all the way through the process. You won't need to upgrade or to re-implement a new version when you scale and get larger as a company. And that's our goal, for you guys to become better and larger and use more technology for automation. So those are our 2 key points of our product that we like to talk about right away. So I'm going to turn off my camera so we have a little more screen time here, screen room for you to view WiSys. But during my name is Aaron Armandaris. I'm the sales executive here at WiSys for the past 7 years, helping people succeed in the warehouse. And I'm answering those questions today, as well as Chase Linson-Bigler on the call. He is a technical resource at WiSys. He is our partner liaison who helps partners become better at WiSys and helping them determine a good solution fit for their companies, right, for their customers. But I'm going to help answer the questions today of who needs a WMS and why WiSys. Those are the 2 big things I'd like to get over today. We're going to take a look at the software in depth, and then we'll be able to take a few questions and answers, possibly if there's time permitting. But I definitely want to just give you a good feel of WiSys here. So you guys know we've been around for 19 years now, helping people in the warehouse, and we help, like I was saying before, the flexibility, help a wide array of companies. We don't specialize in a single vertical, but we help companies throughout distribution, wholesaling, manufacturing, clothing, medical, chemicals, pharmaceutical groups. We help everybody succeed in the warehouse, and we can really tailor the product to those specific needs of their industry. We have probably about 550 customers now that are using WiSys in some form or fashion today. We're going to go over the processes and to describe WMS and talk about WMS. This is the warehouse management processes you're seeing in your warehouse, right? You know these things: receiving goods, putting away, all the way to picking, packing, and shipping. This is what WiSys handles. And we handle that integrated into SAP. The big difference between us and other solutions is that we're going to focus on that SAP database. We're also going to focus on one singular point of truth, right? So from your sales order entry people to your warehouse managers to your CFO, you're going to believe the information that's being shown because it's happening in one singular database, one point of truth, right? You're not going to be synchronizing or pulling information or reporting from different products. You're going to be doing that using the information from SAP Business One. So we're going to go through these warehouse management processes today. We're going to typically follow this process workflow, but we're also going to talk about how we do that, right? And typically somebody that needs WMS, right? And that's a buzzword in the industry this day. People are being told they need warehouse management. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to validate real data, right? Real information from your ERP. And we're going to express that or extend that functionality out to the warehouse where these things happen. So a small example here, and I just have a quick PowerPoint display to show you, but the things that you typically did in the front office, the things that you do boots on the ground are going to happen now using wireless handheld computers out in the warehouse, right? We're going to push that functionality of your ERP and extend that functionality out to where things are happening. So as you're shipping, as you're receiving, as you're manufacturing, we're going to show you how those things happen at the point of contact. So when you're receiving product into the warehouse, right, the person that's receiving is going to complete that transaction using WiSys and fulfilling that as a result in SAP. One point of truth again, right? So that's really kind of what I wanted to show you. Where things happen. These happen on the warehouse floor using handheld computers. Now, why do you need a WMS? Things that come up are warehouse organization, right? Is your warehouse organized? Do you have locations, bin locations, things like that? We want to have proven areas of where we put things away. Just like an apartment building where you have an apartment numbers, WiSys can help you with bin locations, have locations where things are stored, whether it's a quarantine, an on hold, a QC check area. But this is going to save us those steps in the warehouse, right? So when you talk about who needs a WMS, right? Someone that wants to get better visibility into where things are located. I can't tell you how many times people come across and tell me items are missing in my warehouse. We can't find orders to be shipped out. We can't find the product. We're missing product or we're well overstocked of product. So WiSys helps with people that want to get better organized, more efficient. We're also going to help you speed up processes by doing them using a handheld and by barcode scanning, right? So we're going to validate that against the real data, like we said, and we're going to validate that using barcode scanning, and we're going to use handheld computers to do those transactions as well. So just some of the reasons why people need a WMS. Obviously, a return on investment is a huge reason why WMS is important. We're going to show you those transactions today, and I'm going to show you how to validate that or how that's going to be validated against the real data so we have good reporting. We're going to start off with our entry level product, which is our Essentials. This is everything out of the box. This is not modifying the product. This is what a lot of people call simple barcoding, right? We're going to do standard transactions that you hear about in WMS. We're going to do goods receipts. We're going to do putaways, standard WMS functionality. Warehouse transactions that typically you might be doing today on paper and pen, right? You might be using just SAP to fulfill these and moving paper to those areas. We're going to show you how using a handheld device can automate that and make you better at what you do today. Big thing from WiSys is we handle bin, batch, and serial out of the box. So if your company requires batch control or serialized items, we can track those and give you good visibility into all those natively with our standard product. We also manage documents. So as you're doing these warehouse transactions in a handheld device scanner, we can print specific documents, labels as well. WiSys includes a label design software that allows you to create labels using data from the database ERP, right, from SAP. You can use data to express that on a label. So if your products are coming from your vendors without barcodes, we want to get barcodes on them, right? So if those products don't have barcodes, WiSys has a solution that's going to allow you to barcode your products. Okay, so that's a big part of our out of the box. This is standard with all the WiSys. One way our customers achieve velocity is using our packaging layer, which is our pallet management layer. This is exclusive to WiSys. This is a differentiator between us and other products, is that we can build packages, whether they're inventory packages or shipping packages, to group items in a single license plate. So you may have heard of license plating. You may want to understand more what that is. WiSys will allow you to group items, whether they're batch controlled, serialized, into a single barcode scanner. So as you move these things around, if you deliver, do sales order deliveries or shipments, you can use an entire pallet, a mixed pallet, of many different items, or a gross load, or a carton load or a container load of items, singular items on pallets, right? For overstock, things like that. And I'll show you a little bit about that, but that's more of a deeper conversation for people that really require that extra packaging there. A lot of distributors use pallet management to organize their overstock as well. So, and this is not limited to pallets like the traditional wood pallets that you have. This can also be containers, cartons, inner packs, anything you want to group together in a single license plate. So even think about container management when we talk about pallets. And you'll probably have questions about that. Our fulfillment is where we take our products, our sales orders, and we build complex shipments, right? We could build shipments for EDI transactions, large LTL shipments, and we can create a shipping tree that allows us to build shipments either on a handheld or a desktop computer, right? So we can actually fulfill using our solution to relieve inventory in your sales orders and complete these sales that you have. But these are for large, complex shipments, which also leads into our Agility shipping product, which is about 2 years old now with WiSys. Is a new product that we've been working very hard on. But what this does is integrate small package shipping into that fulfillment process as well. And we can connect to the APIs of UPS, FedEx, and USPS today. And we can get that right back of that tracking information back into SAP. Again, we're always going to come back to why WiSys is the singular database. We're integrated right into your ERP solution. So there's not a different solution that you're working on from receipt, like we saw the business process at the beginning, from receiving product all the way to shipping. We're going to use the WiSys application to do that as well. And we're going to work today using handheld device, an Android device. WiSys runs on the Android platform. So just think if you have the tablets, a handheld like the Zebra device that you see here, or even running on a desktop, you can do transactions using a barcode scanner. And today I'm going to be using a barcode scanner, an Android device, and I'll show you that here next. Our secret sauce, the thing that makes us different, again, why WiSys, is our design tools. And I'm going to highlight this a little bit, but what this does is we give our customers, we give Blue Ocean our tool set to allow them to be able to tailor all of our applications to your unique processes. This is delivered to our customers. This isn't something we hold back or that we require. You can learn these tools over time and resources to be able to actually modify our product to your needs. And there's some very unique circumstances that people have come up in the past, and they've modified our solution to be able to satisfy their processes that they have. So this is where we really excel. We give you guys these tools. We give our partners these tools to be able to develop and to be able to create applications for your company's needs. And last but not least, we're certified in HANA and SQL. And certification is very important to us. We're very proud of the team that certified WiSys. But what this means is we do transactions using the DI API, the API connection to SAP. We do those transactions in real time, and we do not synchronize. Again, we don't synchronize. We don't pull information from various. We're going to use item masters, bin masters, everything from SAP, and we can't go around those certified transactions, right? We're not going to try to deviate from how SAP requires us to do that. Some solutions you see out there may make up their own processes to be able to write to the SAP database. We're going to certify those transactions. So that's important to us. So let's kind of get into the solution a little bit, and I'll give you a little background, and we can have a deeper discussion into this. But again, like I was saying before, WiSys is an Android-driven solution. So unlike other WMSs or other solutions out there that run on RDP, they require an application server. We're going to use an Android APK. So just like your Candy Crush game, just like your Google Chrome that runs on your Android, you could even run WiSys on your cell phone as well. But we have an application here called Agility 360. That's our most recent application that connects to the SAP database directly through an IP address. Typically, this is a web deploy server, and it requires an SAP authorization. So again, reminder, I'm telling you we're doing these transactions in real time, but we need to authorize or to do these transactions within the structure of SAP. So in this case, you can use a SAP authorization of a professional user, a limited logistics, or an indirect user for your warehouse workers that typically do not use SAP, but we're going to need to authenticate with SAP, right? So I'm going to use my username and password for SAP, and I'm just the manager, so I'm going to use manager and my password. What this also helps us do is when we are going to assign actions in SAP and the ERP to do things, we can assign them to a user in WiSys, right? To a person that's responsible for these items. What that's also going to allow us to do is going to be able to limit the actions that a warehouse worker can do by only assigning them the applications that they're allowed to do. Like Chase may not be involved in the cycle count process. Well, he's not going to see that application on WiSys. Today, I'm going to show you the gamut of kind of what we do, and I'll show you the standard WMS transactions first, and then we'll go a little deeper. But we can really take away any of the we could take away any of the decision making by the worker and put that in the hands of the administrator, right? So we're going to follow along forms on our handheld devices, right? We're going to make sure that we don't have to have any tribal knowledge to do inventory checks. So this is the speed we're going to get by validating, but we're going to use barcode scanning to make sure we're scanning the right items, right? So barcode scanning is going to help us do that throughout the entire process, all the way through shipping. So the first thing we want to do, and we're going to follow that process map that I had, but we're going to actually do some receiving of products. And most typical companies will put in a purchase order into SAP. And I do have a few of these already set up for us to use today, demonstration purposes. And I have a purchase order in SAP, and an open one here. And I have some items in there. And what WiSys does, again, we don't have separate tables for the item masters. We don't have to put this twice in the system, right? You don't have to have it in the WMS as well as the ERP. We're going to take and harness the information that SAP already provides us. So any of the information in here in the item masters are done in SAP, right? So just a little background. So you see it, we do handle different units of measure groups. And I'm going to show that in the receiving process where that's located. But again, we can handle from out of the box the serial and batch numbers directly managed by SAP Business One in the item master. So if we do have serialized items here or batch tracked items, that will be realized natively right on the handheld without any effort by the user of the handheld. If it's a serialized item, the handheld, when receiving these items, are going to know it's serialized. So let's go to the handheld. Let's go to the fun action stuff. So we're going to keep this PO here. We're going to close out of the item master, and we're going to actually do some receiving against this PO. And I'll show you some of the tailored features that we have and some of the new features that WiSys offers that also differentiate us from other WMSs. But I have an application here that's a goods receipt PO. So we're going to create a goods receipt from a PO. I'm going to click on this application. What this will load is a form or an application. Again, these are all tailorable, modifiable to your company's needs. This is just the standard out of the box way of receiving product from a purchase order. Now, typically, I can do a quick lookup of my open available POs, and you see those listed here, right? 1383 is the one I want, but I really want to be scanning. And I can also type in here. So I could type in the PO number. Maybe it's on a receiver sheet. Maybe it's on the actual items that this is the PO receiving us. Maybe there's multiple POs. But I'm going to receive this PO because this truck has backed up to my dock. And my blue focus field here is where I have to type. This is where I can type into WiSys or scan, which I'm going to do here shortly. But the first item is order. So on this form, we're going to hit the order as 1383 and hit the enter button. And you'll notice that that focus field has validated that this is available open order, and it drops to the item level line. Now you can't skip around, right? If you want to deviate from this, you'll have to modify the form, but in a standard process, we're going to follow through on the form, right? This is how we take that tribal knowledge away, the decision-making away from the worker, requiring them to validate it along each step. Now, if I were to clear this back out and go back to the order and type in an incorrect order number here, the device is going to give me a haptic feedback, right? It's going to shake and say, this isn't an available order. Correct your error to continue on the path. So we got to really scan the right item here. So 1383 is that first one. Again, it drops to the item level. That blue focus field has gone down to item. And I can actually look up the items on this PO. And you see it. I have 3 items on the PO and 3 items here in WiSys on the handheld. But again, I want to scan. I don't want to look up or type in, but I can. The capabilities there, especially if you don't have barcodes, you're going to need to find out those items you're receiving. But I'm going to scan that first item. And you see there, if I look down there, it did say batch, and we'll come back to that. But if this was a batch tracked or a serialized item, it would require that information on the handheld. So it automatically took that away. Also, if it was a different unit of measure, maybe it was a carton quantity, a case quantity, or a pallet quantity, it would specify by the barcode I've scanned what unit of measure I'm scanning. So each one of the units of measure in SAP can have a barcode number associated with that. This is just a singular eaches. So I'm going to receive actually 1,000 of these. WiSys preloads this information. So if you wanted to do half now, go to lunch and come back and do half later, you can do that. If you allow your people to over receive or under receive, they could do that as well. It's based on the rules that we set as administrators to determine what's acceptable in the receiving process. Well, we've received 1,000 of those. We want to go to the next item, and I'm going to take my next item here, my E227. And that's going to, again, this is not a batch tracked item. This is not a serialized item. So it's not going to require that information. So I'm going to receive 1,000 here. And then our last item here. Now see here, I have the batch information. That's standard on the form. Once it's recognized that this is not a batch tracked item, it'll remove that information. But it is standard in WiSys, and we can handle batch tracked information. What WiSys also does is we have a batch and serial lot builder, which allows us to create our own batches and our own serials based on our needs in the company. And that information is pulled from SAP as well. So the option is there, and I can show you that a little bit in the settings shortly, but we can create our own serial and batch information if necessary. So I'm going to receive all 1,000 to keep this easy, right? If it goes back to the item level here, I've received all three. There's 0 open quantity here of all three. Now what I'm going to do is the magic that happens in WiSys. We're going to do what's called a composite transaction. We're going to do multiple things with a single click of the button here. And I'm going to click the post button. Now, a new option feature in WiSys is picture capture. Because we're using Android application, we can harness the hardware that we have, like the device. If it has a camera on there, I can actually take a picture of those items right here. Right, I could add another picture here. So I could take pictures if the receiving, if we want for QC or for on hold purposes, or even just a new picture to store in my item master, I can take a picture of the pallet, the item, anything that I need to see. This is a new feature of WiSys that can happen at any point in one of our applications. So I'm going to click OK here because I've taken some pictures of 2 of the items. We also have now the ability to require signature capture. Really cool feature. People that use hazmat materials, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, or somebody that just wants to have a QC that I've received it, I can require a signature. And I'm taking that signature, and that's going to store that in SAP. I'll show you that in a second. The next step is very important because a lot of people don't receive labeling when they have their products received, but we do want to get labels on those products. I'm a sales guy. I've created my own labels, and I've created barcodes for each one of these items that I'm receiving today. Now I can print out a singular one. I can print out 1,000 of those, which I obviously want to label all my products. So from now on, any point past this, we can now effectively barcode scan all these items as we do inventory transactions throughout the warehouse, right? So we printed out labels. Now I could also print out materials. Maybe you have specific work documents that need to be printed. This can all be set up using our design tools, like I showed you at the end there, to modify our solution and add things that you want to print out when we do a post here. So we get out of that. We've printed our labels. We have a Zebra label printer. We've printed our labels. We've slapped them on all of our product that's come up. We've actually have a default bin that those are setting in the dock. This could be your QC bin, your on hold bin. It's just a space that we can relieve the truck can leave, and now we can organize material to put it away. But let me show you what happened here in real time in SAP. So your CFO is looking at the purchase orders, or your procurement person. If I refresh this document, you'll see now that this purchase order is closed. And when I take a look at the relationship within SAP, you'll see the goods receipt PO has been created automatically in real time with the understanding that we believe the information that we've received this product at our dock, and it's located at our dock. And those attachments are now just sitting here in our B1 share of SAP, and I'll just show you that pallet. The one picture we took, it's now associated with SAP, right? So if I need to go back and get a picture, I could do that. But those 5 things that we did happened in SAP with a single click of the gun in the handheld. So we received that. Now this can be invoiced and this bill can be paid. And we believe this information because this is what SAP is telling me, not what a separate WMS is telling me, right? We received product. So now that we received it, I do want to kind of open up our design tools. Just so, hey, you're thinking out there, Aaron, we don't do this. This is not what we do. Well, our Form Studio, the tool set that we deliver to our customers that can be learned, has the ability to tailor this product, right? Adding things like that signature and picture capture is what I've done manually, right? I've actually gone into that form and I've adjusted it. So I'm going to actually bring that. This is the tool set that we have, and there's that goods receipt PO that I just did. And all of our form lines that we followed systematically down through the form to achieve that post, I can alter that by using SQL or HANA Studio validations, right? I can change yours. So some people tell me, hey, we receive a bunch of POs with the same item on it. I can actually change the first line in my form to be validate the item, right? So we can easily modify that solution and change it to what your company needs. And no other WMS solution out there can do that for you, right? We can go without programming, without going back to the developer, say, hey, I need to do this. We can on the fly using our consultants, using Blue Ocean's team, or even learning it yourself can change that. Remember that post button that I did? I had 5 or 6 actions defined with that, and I can add things like documents to that. And if I click on that, you can see everything that I've asked of that post button, right? I'm going to upload that preload, right? I'm going to actually change that PO to a goods receipt PO. I'm going to change that document. I'm going to print labels, right? I'm also going to require that signature and image capture as well here. We can do geolocations. So if you leave the 4 walls of the warehouse, maybe doing service work, we can capture geolocation. These things can be all added and modified to the form. Now, typically, most people will take that standard form and modify it and change it and make a copy of that. You can come up with completely new inventory warehouse transactions using WiSys. But this is our Form Studio toolset that is our secret sauce that allows us to tailor the product without programming. So we'll close that one out. The other thing that I want to show you, because we printed out labels, I wanted to show you our label designer. It is integrated into WiSys, integrated using the SAP database, right? And we can actually create our own label system with barcodes, batch information, serialized information. I'll just show you that real quick because it's a very nice drag and drop solution that's very easy to learn, right? So I have a goods receipt PO. Here's my item codes, and you see the little blue icon there is the database relationship. I can actually change the barcode type. So if I wanted to do QR codes, very easily drag and drop. I can add information that's important to me from SAP into a label. So if I have a finished good from production, right, I can add that information of the create date or the expiration date if it's a pharmaceutical, or the batch information. It can all easily be done using our label designer. Now, I know a lot of people go out there and invest in a label design product. Now you need labels for your shelving, your racking. We can all use the information from SAP bin structure and realize that on labels for you. You could have 1x2 labels, 4x6 labels, 8x10 sheets of paper with labeling information on it. I just wanted to show you that we have this capability very easily to create your own labels if your vendors do not provide labels for you for your products. And if you have some items have labels and some don't, we can initiate that into our product by allowing you to only print the labels that are required for the items that don't come with labels. Great. So now that we've done a little receiving, like we've brought the product in there, let's go through some of the standard views that we have in WiSys. Now, typically, most people will do a put away, right? So people will go through and say, we're going to put those items in my default bin here, right? I can go and scan those items or look up those items and put them away into a proper location. Now, that's the first item. Very easily, I could scan the bin and just say, very easy, I'm going to put 1,000 of these into the proper bin location. With our design tools, you could tailor that to be a directed put away. You could require the location, the bin location to certain areas, restricted by bins. This is all driven by SAP again. The bin location master will direct you to where you need to put away. These things can all happen. Again, if it has a batch or if it has a serialized information, it will require that because SAP natively has that in their database. So that's just a simple put away. But let's take a look at some of the views that we're going to give you guys very easy access into believing the information, right? So I'm going to go back to this one item, this Mo Divinity item. And in inventory data, I can actually see real-time inventory of what's in stock, right, in SAP. Well, I want to make sure that matches what I say, what I have in WiSys, right? We want to make sure that this information is the same. So I'm going to click on item view, and very simply, I could scan on that item. It lets me scan here. There we go. It scanned that item, and look at this. It tells me I have the description of the item, the warehouse location, the in stock, committed to orders, ordered, and available. Right? I can even drill into the bin levels of where these are located. So remember, we had some of those that I brought into the doc. We can actually see where these are in real time. Just by scanning the barcode of any product at any time, I can get visibility into the bin, batch, and serial detail. If I go back here, if this was a batch tracked item or a serialized item, I could see that. Let me show you what I mean by a batch tracked item. So I'm going to pull up a batch tracked item, and I'm going to scan my chocolate. I do have some Hershey chocolate in my bin, and I can actually see now that that batch information has been highlighted. And I can see all the available batches that are available in SAP and in WiSys, right? So I can make good decisions here based on batch information. So very easily out of the box, bin, batch, serialized is handled natively right in there. That's just an item view, right? I could do a bin audit where I could go up to a bin. I could scan my, my warehouse, my bin, and I could see everything that's in that bin location, right? Just by scanning the barcode on the bin. So the visibility is there where I know where things are, where I believe where things are, and I can match those up. Typically, most people will then also do what's called a inventory cycle count. And WiSys realizes those inventory cycle counts on the handheld as well. We utilize the inventory counting sheets in SAP. Again, we want to stick to SAP as the point of truth. So we're going to fulfill with our inventory menu system here, inventory transactions, and we're going to look at inventory counting transactions. And I've created some counting transactions in here. And what happens is, this is why we use an indirect user of SAP, is that we have assigned counting to a particular user group or role, right? Multiple counters. So we can handle the cycle counting with WiSys, and we can go out into without delivering paperwork to that person to do cycle counts, right? So very easily, I'm going to use my handheld. I'm just going to do this quickly so you see it. But the real-time aspect is that I have an inventory counting sheet, and I can give this person a sheet with a barcode on it, or just simply say you're responsible for inventory counting and see those counts. And this inventory counting sheet here, 50, is the one I'm going to work on, the most recent one. And I'm going to scan that first item, right? And I'm going to scan or look up the bin to tell me where it's going, where it's telling me to look at it. I have my bin locations assigned in SAP. But I click the bin, and it tells me I've counted 1,000, or 1,000 have been counted, right? But I'm going to go out there and I'm going to count this bin, and I'm going to count 999. Right? Went through and counted it. And in real time, I've counted that information, and you'll see here that I have a variance here of, actually I've counted 1,099 because I've already counted 1,000, but I have a variance here. So I can go back and now accept that and do a goods issue or a goods to adjust the inventory, but we want to make sure we have accurate inventory. What I can do is then I could reassign that counting sheet, or I could require a manager to go do an adjustment here and do the adjustment count of that. So in real time, WiSys handles inventory counting by item, by bin, and we do that using the inventory counting sheets of SAP within the ERP. So let's just go back and count 1,000. We counted really 1,000. We found where they were all located, and in real time, the variance is 0 here. So I've approved that, and now I can copy that inventory counting back to SAP. So we believe this information because it's happening in the SAP ERP, right? Your Business One ERP very easily. So that's one other thing that we really like to, that's a lot of place where a lot of people start in WMS. They say, hey, why do you need WMS? We want to have an accurate, believable inventory. And one way to do that is by achieving recommended cycle counts, right? We could set up these cycle count sheets to count by item, by rows, annually, weekly, monthly, daily, to have an accurate count of inventory information without the paperwork and the stopping of your company's business to do inventory counting. So we've received stuff, we put some stuff away. I'd like to show you a little bit about pallets, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I really think this is a good place to tease you with some velocity where WiSys can go faster. Now remember all those items we had sitting at our dock. We want to group those items. We want to make it faster for us to put them away, pick them for orders, maybe even overstock, or even raw goods materials for production. WiSys does do production as well. So we use pallets quite a bit. And I'm going to build a pallet today. Just to give you a tease of what pallet management does is what I'm going to do is create a package layer. And that's where it comes into new pallets. When I hit enter, it's going to create a new pallet. It's going to give me a new ID for everything that I'm going to group in this packaging layer. So I'm going to take that first item that we did, and I'm going to go to that bin, that dock bin. So 05 dock, or I could look it up. I'm going to go to that bin. And I'm going to create a single package ID, a single license plate for 100 of these items on a single package, right? What that did is created a pallet number. So this number is going to follow all the way through WiSys until we relieve that inventory. We can use this for overstock. We could put this away to a place to stock for a letdown area. But we can destroy this pallet. We could take it apart, but right now I want to group everything in a single license plate. So I'm going to print out a label here, right? And that's going to print a label. What I've done is created that unique ID, and I've also put on there the item that we have. So this is a singular pallet, right? One item on the pallet. Now I can add additional items to this pallet. I can add different items to this pallet, but it's going to understand that we have 100 of this product on this pallet. So from now on, I only need to scan this pallet 706. Maybe you have one printed out for each corner of the pallet. I can now move that pallet very easily with a single scan. Remember when we talked about serialize and batch track? Once all those serial numbers are in this pallet, there's no longer a need to ever scan or look up those serial numbers again, right? So we've taken maybe 100 serial numbers and we've attached them to a single scan all the way through relieving that inventory. What do I mean by this? So let's take a look here. Let's close out of the pallet builder, and we can build multiple pallets too. So if you have 1,000 items and 100 on each pallet, I can do that in a single swoop here, right? I can even do inventory counting by pallets, but let's just take a look at this pallet transfer, right? So remember that pallet 706 that we had. Very easily, I can take the entire contents of that pallet and move that to its put away bin. In real time, that's moved 100 of those items with a single scan, very easily. Right? When I look up that pallet view now, if I look up the pallet, if I scan the pallet ID here, I can see where that pallet's located, right? What bin is located, what's on it. Remember, if I had serial batch information, it would tell me all the information associated with that pallet. So it's really a grouping, and some people do this for kitting, right? Or they use raw materials or bill of materials and they create pallets of that product. Some people use that for shipping pallets. So when you have orders and they're pallet orders for LTL truckload shipments, right? Now I can pull and pick those orders based on the pallet size. So I will like to go more into pallets, but this is more a detailed conversation for your unique processes in your company, but understanding we have ways to create automation and velocity with WiSys. To go over a high level view, we handle production as well. Right? So when you create production orders using bill of materials in WiSys, we can fulfill those movements from pick lists of production orders. We can issue goods to production. We can receipt goods against production. We can even do production backfill, which allows us to create production orders on the fly. We could really handle the basic movements of production with WiSys as well. So you wouldn't need a secondary production product to accomplish WiSys. And we will go into that in another session with the Blue Ocean team as well. But if we want to get deeper, again, this is more of a specific to your company's needs, but we can produce the pallets as well, creating those inventory pallets or those shipping pallets as well. So we do have production within WiSys as well. So we've put some stuff away. We've moved around. We have great visibility into our items, right? I now would think, I believe where things are stored. I don't need to get my 10,000 steps in the warehouse in a day, right? I believe that. I want to show you now, we want to fulfill some of these orders because this is the area where a lot of people do things differently. And WiSys can handle any type of sales order picking or sales order delivery that you might have. But I do want to show, we've received stuff, we've put it away. We've even been able to produce some stuff, and we have inventory that we need to fulfill sales orders. So I'm actually going to go to my sales orders in SAP here. And there's a lot of different ways that we can handle fulfilling sales order. And I know people use different methods. Typically, my favorite method and most reliable method, or people use the most, is a directed picking solution, where we put people on a pick path through the warehouse to pick items to whether it's singular sales orders or multiple sales orders using a pick list to achieve those sales orders to be staged and ready for shipping. So I'm going to go to a sales order here, and we're going to kind of do the directed sales order pick for this sales order. And this is a small package shipping. We can go deeper into LTL and truckload, which I'll show you where that's handled. But I want to do some picking here and packing. So typically with a sales order, some people will do this. They'll do a right click and they'll create a pick list, right? A lot of people, a lot of SAP customers are going to use the SAP pick and production manager right within the inventory. Sorry. I'm getting pick and pack right here. So some people will release their pick lists, and this is where WiSys will pull those pick lists from the pick and pack production manager. And if you guys are familiar with this, I don't need to go too deep into it. Scott actually is an expert at this. But what this does is releases pick lists based on my allocation, my availability, my fulfillment, or whatever criteria I have. I can set that to release pick lists. So WiSys is going to harness that power of SAP. We're going to allow you to pick those pick lists. And again, very easily, I'm going to right click and generate a pick list here. Right. So this is the easy way. This is how some people will do it. But I've created a pick list number. Again, I can assign that by a user, by a picker, by a group, or a role. But I'm going to release these items to a pick list here, which I've just done. Right. Pick list number 98. Well, we want to fulfill that using no paper on a handheld, right? So I'm going to go to my handheld device, and we're going to do some directed picking. Back to my distribution tab, we have many different ways to do it. Now, I can simply pick from a sales order, right? I could pick from just do a sales order delivery, right, where it does the document in SAP and just changes things from a sales order to a delivery note. Very easily. Some people do this for cash and carry, things like that. But what I want to do is I want to do directed sales order picking, like I was talking about before. Well, remember that pick list. I could scan a piece of paper that had the barcode on it for the pick list. I could do a lookup here, right? So typically I come in during the day and I see everything I got to pick. And this could be assigned to multiple users. Multiple different people can pick multiple pick lists, single orders. We can handle this any way that your company needs to do that, but we can also help you with best practice. Maybe you want to improve that process. That's what WiSys can do here. So I've taken that pick list number, and it's actually telling me on this form what item to get and what bin to go to. And I can toggle between items here, right? And it's going to tell me the next bin to go get. So again, a directed way through my warehouse without going around haphazardly and picking items. Maybe I have 10 sales orders that are getting the same item. I'm going to do a wave pick here, but it's directing me through that. So in this case, it's asking me not to look up the item, but to validate that item, saying I'm going to this bin and I'm going to pick this first item. And I'm going to the next bin, right? And I have to scan the bin because I'm validating that that's the bin I'm picking it from. We're going to take 2 of these here. Now it takes me right to the next item, and so on and so on. It's going to take me through each item until I've fulfilled those picks, right? And I'm going to scan this from this bin. Now this is based on, and I'll pick this last 2 so you see that this pick list is fully picked. Right. So when we look at the pick list, again, in SAP, so I have visibility from my CFO level all the way down to the warehouse worker, I could see that this pick list has now been picked. Right? And we've staged that. We've moved those items to a staging area. So I've picked this pick list. And remember when I was saying validating, let's take a look at those bin locations. I have that bin location item master set up within SAP. Again, not a separate database, not somewhere else in the SAP platform. This is where we set the rules up for item restrictions, weight, barcodes, things like that are all administered from me, the administrator, in SAP. So we make the rules. We don't allow the warehouse workers to make the rules. Obviously, the manager can decide things, but when we're doing a pick list, it's going to tell me the next available place to get the right items using SAP. So we've picked that, right? It's picked. It's great. We're going to we want to fulfill this sales order. I can fulfill this using the handheld device, but most typical companies and out of the box standard, they would do this on a desktop computer. I'm going to use my fulfillment manager, which is my desktop application, to be able to do my shipping. And this is the application we can do our LTL truckload shipments, our complex, huge container shipments that we do. But this is also the platform that we use to do small packaging. So again, one solution all the way through for WiSys. So whether this is an LTL truckload, as you see up top here, I can build a shipment now based on that order I just have. So I'm going to do the new shipment here. And I'm going to follow, again, through a process here. And I'm going to build a shipment. I'm going to pack at this packing station those items that I picked on that sales order. So I'm going to add a standard box. You can add multiple different types of boxes in WiSys. This is going to create a carton for those items I'm going to put in there. Now, you may not care about the detail here. You can do very simple shipping where you just ship out product. You don't need to create boxes. But I like to show this because this works all the way up to pallet management. So I've added a carton, and I'm going to add my first item, right? And that 1383 is that shipment that we want to fulfill right away. And it's going to drop me down to the item here. Was that at 1383? I can even look up here. Let's look it up. Right? I can sort that 1318. I don't know why I said 1383. 1318 is the order. Now I could scan that order again if I had a packing list or order pick list sheet. I could scan that or have it print a label on the box. But I'm looking up that order. That's the first order that I'm working on. I'm going to scan that item. Right? I'm going to scan the first item that's been delivered, bringing it from the staging area, which has been located at, and I'm going to put 2 in this box. Right? So I have a carton with 2 items in the box. Now I can add these other items because they're small. I'm going to just do one single box here, and it's got my order populated. But let's scan the second item, validating all along the way that this is the right item I'm putting in the box. Right? We're not guessing. We're not saying if this was not the right item, it's not going to let you continue on the form to stage it from the staging area to pulling the quantity. Click OK. All right, so this order has everything in it, right? If I added an item in there, it would understand that it does not have any more items available on this. See, there's nothing left to pack, right? I'm going to close this out. So we've got everything in this box that needs to go out for this order. Based on the sales order in SAP, we've determined that this is a UPS ground shipment. I have my truckload LTL lit up always because I could always do it. LTL delivery note order here. But in this case, this is going to use my small package shipping API to UPS, and it's lit up here, right? Now I can print out package labels if necessary. I could print out specific documents, but I'm going to hit the UPS icon here, right? This also works with LTL truckload, so we can build large, complex shipments, EDI connections into that application. But it has the 4 items in here. It has my weights and measures pulled from SAP. I can even use weights from a scale if I had a scale and wanted to weigh the box. I have my ship to address here. I have my ship from. So if I was doing third-party shipping, if I was drop shipping this, I could all do this right through WiSys. I could even do international shipping. As of late last year, we've introduced international shipping with WiSys, so you can ship internationally originating from the US. So I'm just going to go ahead and very easy. I can actually change the service carrier if I need to. If this is something that was a back order that was delayed, I'm just going to ship this ground. And I'm going to click the ship button. This is, again, where we do a composite transaction. When I hit the ship button, it's going to do a bunch of different things. First of all, it's going to reach out to the API of UPS, right? It's going to connect to UPS. It's going to print my UPS label. Really easy, super easy, right? Real time, it's taken my information, it's validated it, and here's my label. I can have other documents print out too. If I wanted the bill of lading or a packing list, that a standard packing list can be printed to be put in the box to seal that box. But what effectively done is we've created a delivery note from that sales order. So let's go back to SAP real quick, right? And we're going to actually refresh this order, and you'll see that this order is now closed. Again, we hit the relationship right click button, and I take a look, and it's created that delivery note. The really cool thing, single solution now, is that we have the tracking information populated right back in the delivery note. So now we can utilize some of the tools that I'm going to show you next quickly. I know we have about 6 minutes left here, but I want to show you some of those tools. WiSys comes with an analytical tool, and we've relieved that inventory that's left. The inventory we have now we're able to invoice this. But let's take a look at some analytical tools that WiSys has. So not only do we do on the desktop our shipping solution, but we actually have a very powerful tool called our Agility Explorer Desktop. And what this does is going to organize information that's important to me in an Excel style spreadsheet, live, real data, without being in SAP. Utilizing SAP information, utilizing the database, we could build forms based on my company's needs to realize the information. Let me just show you one real quick. I'm going to look at sales order batch management. All those sales orders that we have in the system are now going to appear in a grid format on my screen, right? And I can even drill in to all my orders directly in here. So imagine somebody in customer service. Imagine somebody in sales wanting to see their open sales orders. I can filter, right, by customer. I can sort. I could even group by customer, but just really quickly, I'll show you my open Maxi Tech orders, right? And if I click on an order, so I want to take a look. I think I have an order that's done recently. 1308 here is an open order. Now we can create alerts. These are past due, these are back order. We can actually go down and see when we click on that, we can actually see the items and the information on these open sales orders. Have they been picked? Right? Have I got the information? Do I have the inventory or the allocation to fulfill these? You know, we have orders, we have 200. So this can be released. This pick list has been released, and it's been released, but the quantity hasn't been picked. So now I can make a good business decision and say, talk to the right person, say, why hasn't this been released? We can do this from production, inventory management, sales, procurement. We can organize data to give you deeper information and make good business decisions. Now there's the customization or the flexibility of this product is unlimited. Just looking at my inventory workspaces, I can just take a look at all my inventory in the system, right? When I have a hyperlink like this, if I have an SAP user, I can actually drill right into SAP, and it'll take me to SAP and also show me when I highlight it, the information of what I have on hand, just like SAP tells me, but I don't need to be in the product. Now here we can manipulate the product using validations and SQL statements to be able to do actionable items here. So WiSys can do process grids. So I don't want to take too much time there, but this is someplace that, again, based on your needs, we will tailor a demonstration for you guys to go deeper into this. When we talked about pallet view, we can look at the packaging layer as well. Those pallets that I made, remember that Pallets 706. I can actually see all my different types of packaging and see where it's located. So for overstock purposes, for replenishment, for allocation, I could see everything that's on that, and I can group that and filter that and actually add different items to the fields that I need to see. In real time, this can all be refreshed. So as you're doing sales orders and people are delivering product and sales orders are going from open to delivered, you can see these items leave in a systematic way, right? Or we could just focus on things that are backordered by using a filter. A lot we could do with this product. I know we don't have much time today, but I'd really like to show you more and have a conversation with you guys based on your company's needs and give you a little bit deeper look at WiSys. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time today, and I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Aaron, thanks for that. Definitely a lot of eye-opening features in there. What I'd kind of like to do, we're doing, some preliminary homework, I would